y'all, I'm Laura Richardson with Relevate, and welcome back for another episode of I'm Moving to North Carolina, Now What? So today we're going to be talking about buying a beach house. What types of stuff do you need to know when you're trying to buy either a rental or a new primary here on our coast? Well, we have about 7 different things that you might want to be cognizant of before you put out that contract. Some of this is information that you can kind of digest and download prior to ever signing on the dotted line, and some of it's a part of the process. It's a part of that due diligence and kind of sorting through the information that you're going to obtain on the fly and have to make decisions in response. So the first thing is understanding, is this an investment property? Now, it might be your family's investment, or it could be potentially something that you're planning to rent out. Well, it's really important to understand the type of insurance that you're going to need, so homeowners insurance, in addition to the down payment, how it can shift based on your loan product. One of the big shifts that we had happen here in the last couple of years was that secondary and investment properties used to have a huge split in only having to put 10% down versus the 20 to 25%. Now they're about neck and neck for the required down payment. Of course, there are some lenders and some loan products where you can kind of get away with a little bit less depending on how it's structured. But that's a big question that I would definitely talk to your lender about. Also, this sounds like common sense, but you'd be amazed at how infrequently these conversations happen. Make sure to tell your lender that this is an investment property. It is really important that they know, because when it comes to underwriting, there are certain things that have to be done in regards to investment properties. So don't get caught under contract not having disclosed that information correctly to your lender. The second thing is that homeowner's insurance. So making sure that you have all the coverage that you need. Something that we definitely have here are hurricanes in North Carolina. Now, the further inland you get, the less you're actually dealing with the hurricane itself. It's more or less the winds that come off. However, out at the coast, you're definitely going to be dealing with torrential downpour, that high wind, and then the damage that can come from flooding and erosion and things of that nature. So that requires a special type of homeowner's insurance and coverage. It's kind of like if you live in California, you may have earthquake coverage. We don't really use that here, so there's some differences and some nuances. So I highly recommend talking to a local agent, even if it's a nationwide company, a local agent that understands North Carolina investments and North Carolina homeowners insurance policies. The third thing is expect extra inspections. So something that is really common, especially in your bigger rental properties that you see on the coast, are elevators. So those elevator shafts actually need to be inspected. It is a separate specialist that you're going to have to call out there. It's not part of the general inspection. Also, if it was a rental property, that has a lot more wear and tear than your average just primary homeowner that's maybe lived there for 30 years. So I would really recommend kind of pushing some of those specialist appointments, like an electrician, a plumber, your HVAC contractor, your roofer. All those guys kind of need to weigh in and let you know what's the condition of the property, because the homeowner may not have a whole lot of info because it's been a constant rental. So they might have checked no representation, or I don't know, on a lot of those questions on the disclosures. The fourth thing is access to the beach. So you're going to see a lot of variations in how you get from the house to the physical beach itself, or if it's, like a waterfront type property. It may not actually be oceanfront. It could be on the Sound. Either way, you want to know, first of all, how do you get there? Is it public access only, meaning you're going to be walking on some kind of public maintained road? You're not responsible for that, but you may have to have paid parking if you have visitors that are coming. They may end up having to use that. So a little cost just to be cognizant of. But then you also see these other properties, like the beach house that we typically stay at as a family, has this really long, almost like dock that takes you directly from the house and the property all the way to a specific spot on the beach. So you have your own kind of little pergola and house there. Well, that little walkway that you have, first of all, who's maintaining that and what's the cost of upkeep? The one that I'm mentioning right here is about 1/8 of a mile and probably would cost about $100,000 should that get torn up from a storm or any other type of natural disaster. And you have to replace it, right, if you want to have that beach access. So it's just one of those things that you want to evaluate, or if you have any kind of shared easement. Sometimes you'll see where multiple houses have that one walkway. Is there any kind of agreement written in place where it says how much financially each of the homes are responsible for in the upkeep or replacement of that access point? The other thing is who's maintaining the house. Obviously, if this isn't your primary and it's a rental property, do you have a good trusted cleaning crew that's going to alert you if there's any type of issues to the property? This kind of leans into the sixth one rather, excuse me. If you're renting the property, do you have a property management group? What is that statement or that agreement that you have with them in regards to onus? Who is telling you about the upkeep and the maintenance on the property, or if big things are popping up? I mean, I've gone to visit beach properties before or do showings with these, and we've walked in and there's substantial organic growth in like the shower that hasn't been taken care of in forever because the cleaning crew either just didn't deal with it, or the home property management group wasn't identifying that it was an issue. Homeowner doesn't live there, doesn't know. So now you've got this rental property with literally a growing problem. Or for example, if there's screens that are torn or deck that's now rotted and needs to be replaced, who's checking on the property as well as who's running the property in your absence? So I would highly recommend vetting multiple groups before you commit to anything. And also do be mindful of the liability if you're choosing to run it yourself. I do know that there's lots of folks who buy investment properties and they tend to either Airbnb and kind of just run it themselves as a host, or they potentially only rent it out to family and friends. Make sure you still have some kind of setup paperwork wise. Talk to an attorney and make sure that you've protected yourself and the investment itself. And then the last thing is something that's really important depending on the location that you're choosing, and that's beach erosion. So some of the beaches here in North Carolina are eroding in a pretty substantial way, meaning you could have houses that are ocean front that have been there for God only knows how long, that now slowly but surely the beach, which is the support area, right? Because you can't just have it out in the middle of the ocean. That support area is slowly starting to diminish. Well, eventually, if you think about just the natural ebbs and flows of the tide, if you have it kind of now touching the waterfront, slowly but surely those supports are getting taken down to where, like in Rodanthe, for example, they now have homes that are literally, there's viral footage out there for you to check out, homes that are falling into the ocean. So when folks go to offload these properties, they're selling them for maybe 200 grand, and there are investors who are willing to buy it in the short term, rent it out for as long as they can, knowing that the property is literally going to be gone within a couple of years. So make sure you're checking both the erosion of the beach as well as the street maintenance. So there's another big highway here, Highway 12, that actually goes to some very small towns. And when that road washes out, which happens when you're on the coast and you have hurricanes and things like that, when those floods occur, there is a time period where the limited access to the homes happens, or you could have power outages or lack of access to supplies and goods that you need for survival. So make sure that you're paying attention to those little features, because you could see an amazing house online, these great 2D photos, inspections go well, but if you're not looking at stuff from really a 30,000 foot view, you could be missing some really big picture items that are important in the long term. So hopefully this has been somewhat helpful for those of you who are considering vacation homes. Definitely be sure to make those visits. Check out multiple spots that we have here in North Carolina. The beaches here are phenomenal. We love visiting them every summer. The weather is a huge part of why people just move here in general, much less permanently move to our coast. So if we can be helpful in any capacity, feel free to reach out to us in the comments. Shoot us an email, give us a call. We'd love to talk more, and we'll see you next time.